Now, here's an area that majority of people struggle with. I see it every single year. I'll be honest. I think it's one of the things that we struggle with the most. And I think it's one of the biggest causes of procrastination as well. I think if you're a massive procrastinator, if you're someone who really just procrastinates beyond belief, which a lot of us are, and that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it. This is a long journey for us to take, but we'll get there. But if you really procrastinate and, if you just or you find yourself in periods of time where you're just super overwhelmed and there's just a lot going on and you can't handle it. If this is you, then you probably struggle in planning your time. You struggle in how to plan your time. You struggle in implementing effective time management techniques. You don't manage your time effectively. And I think this brings upon a lot of consequences, a lot of avoidable things that don't necessarily have to happen, but end up happening. So today, got you guys. I'm gonna break down exactly how to plan your time to the T, how to implement it, and how to better and more effectively manage your time. So in planning our time, I think we make a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of errors. And I think it's more because we never really learned how to plan our time. I think there's always just an emphasis of you have to manage your time management, and be important, time management. But exactly how do you manage your time? How do you plan your time? What's the key to time management? These are questions that I think aren't often answered. And, I think there's no better place to start. You cannot manage your time effectively. You cannot utilize your time effectively if you don't understand yourself. And it sounds cliched. It sounds like, movie quote. It sounds like I'm just waffling. It sounds, everyone says that, That's how it probably sounds, but it's true. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand how you operate, if you don't understand the best times for you to study, maybe how long you focus for, very important. And all these things are already within you. You have these answers. You just need to take time, be conscious in analyzing these things for yourself and building a sort of template of who you are as a student. I think that's imperative. And I can happily just sit here and list all the things you need to understand for yourself. But I think up there, once again, what are your preferred times of study? Do you prefer studying at night? Do you prefer just waking up early in the morning? Are you a morning person when you get things done in the morning? Now, I'll be honest, I'm a bit less of a morning person and I think more of an evening person. I think I do a lot of my work in the evening. That's just how, obviously, I prefer to do it and I enjoy doing it that way. And that's okay. So you need to find and understand when are the best times that you study and you are most productive. And as well, understand how long typically you focus for, how long can you focus for. I know myself personally, I can push 45 minutes to an hour, but I often try not to go past an hour on certain activities. Like let's say I'm studying theory or I'm doing something like reading. I won't go past an hour because I know my focus diminishes, because I think I find that stuff a lot harder. But if I'm doing something practical, like I'm practicing a question, even here if I'm editing a video, whatever, if I'm doing something practical, I know I can knock that out over 2 hours, over 3 hours. I can really just, I'm sort of in a better element there. I think I do prefer things a bit more practical. So I have that understanding in myself, built it over a very long time. And now I know how to plan out my blocks of time. So have that understanding of yourself, and I think, once again, and I always say just get a piece of paper. I think writing things down is so important. I'd even advise just getting a whole file. I do everything on my laptop, so that's why it's so easy for me to organize all these things and make sure that they're, sort of all there and accessible and stuff. And if I need to print something, I'll print it out. But write it down for yourself. Write down who you are as a person, how you prefer studying, things you enjoy studying, things you don't enjoy studying, your modules, favorite modules, worst modules, stuff like that. Build that understanding. And now once you have that understanding, I think you need to start sort of creating a framework for how you're going to operate in the week, in the month, in the year, in whatever time period you're looking at. But how are you going to operate? What are the sort of the parameters, the area that you're going to operate with? What are the rules? All sports have rules. All sort of engagements, whatever, have rules. Our society is filled with rules. Create rules for yourself on how you're going to operate, on how you're going to study, how you're going to manage your time. Are you going to max study session, can be literally only an hour, then I have to take a break. I have to take a 15-minute break. Then my break cannot be longer than 15 minutes because I know that if I go over that time, I'll stop studying. Or in my breaks, I can't watch series because I'll get distracted, or I have to go get fresh. Just create those things for yourself. Clean out your table, make sure that your table is clean, stuff like that. So create those rules for yourself. And once again, write them down. Write down those rules. Write down, build that understanding of what are your parameters of study. What are the rules of the area that you're going to study with. So really do that for yourself. And I think take a lot of the tips that I'm giving you and make those as rules. Because I think my next one, something important, something most people don't do and don't even consider, is the messier your sort of study area and the place you work is, the more clustered it is, the more filled with stuff it is, the more full it is, then the less effective you're going to be. And that is true. And I'll be honest, guys, I think I wasn't too focused on being neat. I think my study area was always just sort of clustered with things, especially in first and second year. It was just always packed with books, and I really cleaned and stuff like that. Even just my room was a bit untidy and stuff. But I think as I got into your third year and your honors as well, and I think now especially, if you just, anytime you just look at my desk is always clean. I wipe my desk down, try put as minimal things on my desk. I optimize my area and my environment for productivity. And that's what you need to do as well. Because subconsciously, if your area is messy, then, it sort of attracts clutter into your mind. Your mind becomes messy. You become sort of unfocused. You become a bit more overwhelmed because of everything that's around you. But once you just start priming your environment for productivity, for success, for focus as well. Once you start doing that, and that's something big that I'm doing now in my life, that's something big that I prioritize. But if you can do that, then you make it so much easier for yourself to focus. You make it easier to manage your time. You make it easier to get things done. It's all, this is a game of making things easier for yourself. And I think I'm trying to make managing your time as easy as possible, so that you can achieve the best results. So do that, clean your environment, make sure even your room, make sure your bed is made, make sure your room is clean, so that when you're studying, you're able to focus on what's happening. That is literally so key. And I think in creating a study plan, as a timetable, whatever, be realistic. You cannot say that you're going to study for 7 hours in a row without a break and get 10 sections done. If it sounds unreasonable, and if you've never done it in your life, don't make it a plan. Don't. it's literally simple. You cannot plan to do something you've never done. That is nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. So it has to be something that's within your parameters of operation. It has to be something that you've done before, or something that you know that you're able to do, and not I can do this, or I should be able to do this, or maybe if I try hard enough. No, on just a normal day, can you do what you're setting out to do? If you can, that's realistic. If you can't, it's not realistic. I think use that as the sort of filter to understand what is realistic and what is not realistic. So it's very important to make your sort of study plan realistic, because the more realistic it is, right, the more you're able to meet those goals and objectives And the more you're meeting goals and objectives on your study plan, the more motivated you're going to be, the more momentum you're going to get, and the more you're going to want to plan your time, and the more you want to get things done. And this is all a momentum game. It's a momentum game, and the more momentum you have, the more momentum you're generating for yourself, the better your ability at meeting goals and objectives, and more importantly, of course, the better your chances at succeeding in university, in reaching those goals, and in just getting to these areas that you want to get to. So please be realistic. Please be super important. And I think lastly, as a bit of practical advice, it's sort of important when you plan your time, when you create these blocks of time to work, whether you prefer to be specific and say in these 45 minutes I'm going to do this, or in this 3 hours I'm going to study this module. However you want to do it, that's up to you. You need to make it your own. But you need to also create space for flexibility. You need to be flexible in your plan. You can't be too rigid, but also when I say flexible, you can't just freestyle and go and watch series. And no, that's not what I mean by being flexible. If anything, you need to try and stick to your plan as much as possible. But obviously life happens, guys. We need to be honest about that. Life does happen, and it's okay. It's supposed to happen. That's life, But in that, you need to be prepared. If let's say your parents need you at home to help with something, you need to be able to do that. But also, just understanding that, okay, but this is what I need to do. Maybe I can shift this here, I can do this here. But also not being too flexible and not sort of deviating too much is also important. So it's just maintaining that balance. But I think being more on the sort of side of sticking to your timetable, and if an emergency comes along, then let's be flexible, let's see what we can do. But otherwise, guys, for the most part, really just do try and execute, stick to your your sort of plan that you set for yourself. And I think involve other areas of your life in planning your time. Like, you can't just say, I'm just gonna study, that's all I'm gonna do the next 3 days, I'm just gonna study. Like, you're still a human being. You maybe want to be physically active. You need to eat somewhere. You need to eat, guys. You need to sleep. There's some basic things that we also just don't take into account. Like, guys, you can't be working and having 2 hours of sleep every night. Maybe you feel like you're fine, but it's gonna be detrimental for you in the long run. And even now, in the sort of medium term, it's not gonna work well towards your exams. You're gonna be tired when you write your exams. You're gonna get to a point where you're burnt out. These are actual things that happen. And a lot of demoralization happens because of unhealthy habits we have. One of those big unhealthy habits is lack of sleep. So please don't sacrifice sleep. Don't sacrifice eating as well, and drinking water, and just living and being a human being. Like, we can't sacrifice these things, guys. So, I please encourage you to just make sure that you really just take all these tools that I've given in this video. Once again, guys, there's so much more that I can chat about, but I think I'll speak about time management over the year. I'll touch on specific aspects and just small things here and there for you guys, because I think it's a very important topic, but it's so comprehensive. There's so much to it. There's so much I can talk about. So I'll be dropping bits and pieces here and there throughout the year for you. But I think this is just an overview of essentially how to effectively manage your time, and how to better plan your time as well. I think a skill a lot of us lack in, but a very important skill. And in me saying that, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you've learned a thing or two about yourself, about the journey, about sort of where you're going, and about how to actually get there. I hope I've provided some value. I think I really love doing this YouTube thing. I love recording these videos because I see it does help some of you. I see even my WhatsApp content does help a lot of you as well, and I love seeing that, guys. So I always say, as long as this is just helping one person, I won't stop. So if you've enjoyed this, guys, please do smash that like button. As always, you already know. Drop a subscription if you haven't, please. And until the next one, let's continue on our journey and create a better world.